We now go to the last, but not least, speaker on this distinguished panel, representative of the civil society, Ms. Mélinard. You have the floor, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, fellow advocates, good day. I represent Kopounoule Inc., a foundation rooted in the belief that those on the margins hold the knowledge for our collective survival. I come from a place where the Triple Planetary Crisis is not an academic concept. It is the water rising over the graves of our ancestors. It is the corals dying in waters that once fed communities. It is the seeds that no longer grow in soil too exhausted, too heated, too changed. It is people fearing for their lives and livelihoods year after year. But I also come from a place of resilience, where survival has been an act of resistance, where culture has been our curriculum, and where justice has always been about what we can protect for the generations yet born. On Monday, as I sat to prepare, I looked as my friends and strangers from all over relieved the harrowing experience from Hurricane Maria in 2017. And we looked on helplessly at another hurricane projection for the Caribbean. This time, it was Hurricane Melissa, barreling towards Jamaica in what resembled a very personal attack on this island. When Hurricane Melissa made landfall, I couldn't shake the thought that just days before, children and youth were once again in the same carefree position that I had been on the eve of Hurricane Maria, and as others had been on the eve of Hurricane Beryl. Today, youth and children are standing among flooded communities, and I know that they are filled with uncertainty and worry. Rising sea levels and unpredicted weather patterns are not just destroying the environment, they are violating human rights and threatening livelihoods and food security. For these young people, this is more than an environmental issue. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a human rights crisis. It's a manifestation of the Triple Planetary Crisis that we must confront. When most organizations speak of this planetary crisis, it can sound like three separate problems seeking three separate solutions. But from where I stand, in the Caribbean, on indigenous land, there is no such separation. The storm that destroys our homes is the same storm that is supercharged by a warming planet. The plastic washing up on our shores traveled from lands we will never visit or even have the luxury of dreaming about. The species disappearing from our forests are the same relatives our elders called by name, the ones who held our medicinal knowledge, our food sovereignty, our security, and our stories. This is not just environmental collapse. This is the unraveling of relationships between people and place, between present and future, and between rights and responsibilities. And at the center of this unraveling, it's a crisis of education. Not the kind measured in test scores or tutorial presentations, but in a deeper sense. Who teaches us to belong to the earth? Who teaches us that human rights and the rights of nature are inseparable? And who teaches us that justice without ecology is incomplete? To be clear, climate justice is human rights. When a community loses access to clean water because of a drought, that is a violation of the human right to water. When rising seas forces people from their ancestral lands, that is a violation of the right to culture, to home, to self-determination. When children develop asthma from air pollution, when heat waves kill the elderly, those are violations of a right to health and life. And when indigenous peoples who contribute the least emissions face the harshest impacts while being excluded from decision-making, that is colonialism in a new form. That is environmental racism. That is injustice compounded. We cannot address climate change without addressing equity. We cannot protect biodiversity without protecting the land rights of indigenous peoples who have been the stewards. And we cannot solve pollution without confronting the consumption patterns of the global north and the waste dumped on the global south. Education must help us see these connections. It must teach that every right comes with a responsibility, and that our freedom is only real when it does not steal freedom from others, including the future generation. Youth across the Caribbean and the world have been called again for hurricanes like Maria, Beryl, and Melissa, and natural and humanitarian crises, to strengthen human rights and environmental justice responses by transforming education. So I would like to advocate for 4 key transformations. First, decolonize education. I believe schools must reflect the histories and cultures of their inhabitants, including indigenous knowledge. Education must be relevant, it must be reliable, it must be relatable and rooted in place. Second, make education relational. Children must learn that they are part of nature, not apart from it, and they must understand that climate is not a distant problem for future scientists to solve. It is in the air they breathe, the water they drink, and the ground that they stand on. So education must teach empathy, not just for other humans, but for the web of life. Third, ensure that education is actionable. Human rights education should not stop at knowing your rights. It must equip young people to claim them, to defend them, and to extend them. Climate education should not stop at fear or grief. It must build agency, hope, and skills to adapt and regenerate. And fourth, make education accountable to justice. Education systems must be answerable to the communities most impacted by the Triple Planetary Crisis, and not just to economic interest or political convenience. So while we are aware that we cannot prevent hostile and deadly climate disasters from approaching, we can most definitely fortify our preparation and responses to them. We envision a future where rising tides no longer threaten fishing villages, where indigenous communities like mine can live in harmony with the land and sea, ensuring that the next generation inherits a sustainable community. If we continue to educate our children to see the earth as a resource rather than a relation, if we continue to produce graduates who know how to profit and not sustain, if we fail to teach the connection between justice and ecology, then no treaty, no technology, and no amount of wealth will save us from collapse. We have been told that we are too young to understand, too small to matter, too traditional to be relevant, but we are not too young to survive hurricanes, not too young to watch our coral reefs die, and not too young to know when promises are broken. We are the ones actively inheriting what is being decided. We are the ones innovating with less. We are the ones holding on to knowledge that the world forgot it needed. Education that centers equity must center us, not as victims to be pitied, not as symbols to be celebrated, but as leaders, as knowledge holders, and as decision makers. The Triple Planetary Crisis is interconnected. Human rights is interconnected with climate justice and environmental justice. And education, when done right, is the thread that weaves it all together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Melinard. Indeed, I think it was so important to hear that those on the margins, indigenous communities, the elders, they hold the knowledge to our collective survival. And also for emphasizing that triple planetary crisis, in fact, is one crisis, and that we need to transform education in order to properly address it. And thank you for very concrete proposals on how to transform education to tackle triple planetary crisis. Last but not least, I will invite Ms. Mélinard for her final thoughts about the discussions that we've heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I've been here for, I think, about an hour, and I am just absolutely impressed by all the youth that have spoken out today. Before coming here, I had a call with my mom, and she was telling me just a lot of encouraging words, you know, about being here, about being the first in my community to be able to get this opportunity and to speak on behalf of my country and my people. And to listen to all the other young people out here was just absolutely, truly inspiring. So continue doing the great work that you're doing. And I think the interventions that we've had, they echo the urgent call for transformative action that we need in terms of education to meet the challenges that we are all facing right now. So I know much lies on the shoulder of us youth. So we need your support to inspire other youth to become advocates for sustainable practices and to seek justice for those impacted by the challenges that we all face. I believe one way that you and your organization, speaking to everyone in the room, that you can support us is to continue to fuel the discussion on our education systems, to promote awareness around human rights, environmental issues, and all other interconnecting spaces. So thank you, and I think as we reflect on the key takeaways from the forum, let it not just be another forum. I am committed to taking it as seriously as I am able to, and I urge you all to do the same as well. I think our collective narrative must be that holistic education must be accessible to all. It's not just an ideal, it is an imperative. Thank you.